Hey everyone, this is the Pythonic Accountant, and today we're going to take a look at grabbing data from an HTML file on the internet. And you can see in front of you right now we've got Google, or actually now it's Alphabet's 10K statements from December 31st, 2018. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the financial statements section in the consolidated balance sheets, and we're going to show how you can use Python and the Pandas library to grab the data from this table here and have access to it so you can do some things. Now, quick side note, there is the kind of recently implemented XBRL standards, which does standardize the data from these, and we're not going to cover that today, but maybe we'll cover in a future video. But today's purposes is just for the demonstration of how to grab data from HTML tables. So we'll go ahead, and first thing you'll need to do is, if you've been following along from the previous videos, you'll need to install a new library called LXML. So basically the way you do it is you'll type conda install LXML. I've already done it up here, and it'll install the LXML package. What that does is that allows Python to be able to go to read the HTML data using pandas and grab tables. So I've already installed the LXML and loaded up my Jupyter Notebook, and here we go. So I already wrote some code over in this other tab, but I'm going to try to write it from scratch over here so you can follow along. I did take note of one thing that would take a little bit more research otherwise, and you'll see in a minute there's actually quite a few HTML tables within this file, and the Pandas library grabs all of them. So instead of having to go through and take your time figuring out which table is the right one, I went ahead and jotted down the number of the table. So we'll show you just a minute what that looks like. So first we're going to import pandas as PD. Then we're going to grab the location of this URL and just put it into URL. Now we're going to read the URL into the data frame. So df equals pd.read HTML URL. And this will take a minute because it's now going through and reading all the HTML and finding all of the tables, and now it's grabbed them all. So let's see how many there are. And there's 382. We want number 238. So I'll show you what a couple of these look like before we dive in. So let's see. The first one would be 0, and what this one represents is just kind of the first, what looks like a table. It doesn't really have much data in it, so that's not super useful. Let's grab maybe the 20th one and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's still not very useful. See, so many of these are kind of what look like tables to pandas, but aren't really a real table. So, alright, I think we've had enough of this. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to 238 because we know that's the one we want. And I'm just going to do .head. And now you can see we've got something here, but it's not super useful in the current format. I'm actually going to expand this to the first 10 rows of the head so you can see a little bit more. So let's take a look at what we're seeing here versus what we saw in the web page. So you can see you've got your first column, which has kind of the title of your account area, and that does match up with kind of this column right here. Then we got some funny stuff happening over here. You've got kind of two columns that represent your as of date, prior year and current year, but then over here you've got what looks like 3 columns for each year. And you can see you've got, the 2 of them, for the most part the numbers match up. In some cases you have a $sign showing up in the first one but not the second one, and then nothing seems like it's happening here in the third one. But later on you can see, if I do tail, you can see that the closed parentheses ends up showing up, and here we go, that closed parentheses shows up in the third column. So really I think all the data we need is in this second column of each year, and this one's a negative, but what you can do is replace the negative open parentheses with an actual negative symbol. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say let's let's grab just the second column. Let's see, we want column 0, 2, and 6. Those are the ones we care about. So let's go ahead and say, let's see, balance sheet equals df 238, and we want the list of columns 0, 2, and 6. Let's see what that looks like. And that's looking good. We got the columns that we needed. So now let's actually name the columns so that way they're not just the numbers 0, 2, and 6. So balance sheet.columns equals, let's do account 12, 31, 17 and 12, 31, 18. And that's looking better. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of any of the rows that have the NA in it, because we don't really need those. All we really care about are the ones that have, and we're actually going to drop a little bit of information here because we are going to lose assets and current assets, but we have a general understanding that cash and cash equivalents is a current asset with an asset. So for these purposes, we're going to drop anything that doesn't have dollars in it over here. So let's do balance sheet equals balance sheet dot drop NA, and hopefully that works right. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. That is looking good, my friends. That is looking good. So one thing that we'll do, and it's not going to work right away because we have to do a couple of changes, but we do want to see if we can start summing up some of these numbers. So that'll be interesting to see if we can kind of, maybe do a couple of footing exercises here to see that the things add up correctly. So we'd like to see that this number plus this number equals this number, because this is the total cash equivalents. Also, one thing we're going to do is we want to reset this index here because it's not as useful having the old numbers here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Balance sheet equals balance sheet reset index, and drop equals true. We are dropping these numbers. We're not going to keep them in there. And so that's good. Now, let's see what happens if we try and add up those first two. So let's just reset ourselves. Okay, so we're looking at these first two rows. When I add them up, balance sheets, and we only care about 12, 31, 17 column for now, say. And we want the location, iloc of 0 and 1 dot sum. And okay, interesting. So what we're seeing here is actually, it's not summing two numbers, it's putting two strings together. So it starts 10715, 10715, and then 91156, 91156. So we fell into the trap that I often fall into, which is we didn't check what our types are in here. So if we do balance sheet dot type, D types, I think we do that. Oh no, we just do. We're not calling it, we're just running it. So all three of these are objects, so that means that they're not floats, so we want them to be floats. So the way to do it, which won't work yet because we got to do a couple other changes, but you would do balance sheet and 12, 31, 17, 12, 31, 18 equals, I'm just going to copy and paste this, that as type float. That's going to error out because it says, oh, I don't like those ones with that open parentheses. So okay, I'm going to save this for now, and let's do a couple things before that. So let's do balance sheets equals that dot map, and we're going to do a couple of replacements just to be safe. So we're going to do, this is just creating a function in place outside of the scope of kind of teaching much around this, but just know that this is what you can use with your pandas data frames when you're trying to do a couple of changes in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we want the, actually we'll have to do apply here, lambda x, x dot replace, we want open parentheses to be replaced with a negative sign, and then we're going to replace a comma with a blank, and then we have to do access equals 1. This should work, and let's just check it out. Actually, it's not going to. We're not going to see anything different. But what we should be able to do now is run this. Uh-oh, still got an error. What do we get wrong? Okay, so it looks like it still didn't get rid of one of those open parentheses. So interesting. Wonder why. Let's go ahead and take a look. Balance sheet dot tail. Balance sheet dot tail. Yeah, it's still showing up there. So maybe we messed something up here. Balance sheet that equals balance sheet that dot apply x dot replace. I wonder if we are better off just doing it one at a time. So let's try this. So balance sheet first column equals balance sheet. That same first column dot map lambda x dot replace. And I don't need the axis. And I'm gonna do the same thing for 1231, 18, 1231, 18. Let's try that. Okay, now we're cooking. Let's see if this works now. Okay, now let's try running this again. Cool. Now not only do we get a sum, that sum actually matches the number here. So if we wanted to actually even do a validation calculation, we could do this. We could say total cash equals that. And then let's just do a quick truthiness check and say total cash equals, let's see if I can get this right, balance sheet dot alloc, and I think we want the second item, and then we want 1231.17. That's true. Cool. That is awesome. So I'm going to leave this here because now you can see there's a lot of cool stuff you can do. You could export it to CSV, you could start doing some other checks, but this is my kind of demo of how you can take this HTML table and very quickly pull it into Python and Pandas, and with a couple of manipulations get it to the point where you're able to actually start using the numbers that are within it. So thank you very much. If you like the video, please click like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.